Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I'm Mr. Bennett with my partner, as always,
This is Sparta!
the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Panayotis. Yasu, my brother, what is going on?
What is going on, my man? How are you?
I'm doing well. Starting the countdown. So again, as you see in my hashtag, in 2 weeks, the missus and I will conclude season 29 of our marriage and start season 30. So, certainly looking forward to that, and certainly planning a trip down to Puerto Rico, get away for a few days to celebrate it, and and just start putting some other things in motion. But yeah, feeling very blessed, and just looking forward to again starting this season. But again, you can't take anything for granted. We got still 2 weeks to push in this, to wrap this guy up, and yeah, going to our third decade of marriage. It's kind of crazy. We were with some friends last night, and they've also hit the 30-year mark, and it's just amazing how time flies. Like we're talking about the 90s as if it was like 10 years ago, and like we all kind of had to have like a wake-up call, like like 1995, 1996 was 30 years ago. It doesn't compute in our minds, like
So it doesn't feel like 30 years.
no, it doesn't at all. And maybe that's just a sign of good living, that we've been able to certainly not only endure some things but prosper during these times. So everything still feels fresh, everything still feels current. But it doesn't, like, I don't have to go so far back in the I can appreciate what I did 30 years ago, but I'm just as excited as to where I am now. So it's just like this constant state of a present that I feel that we're in. And so yeah, but it still boggles my mind. But you can see it, obviously, our girls, like I said, I remember when his kids were born. He remembers when my kids were born. We were at each other's homes for certain events for the kids and everything. And it's like I said, it's just amazing that my friend's kids, one works at Boeing. I mean, she's in like aerospace, like design stuff, and the son is wrapping up college and stuff. And it's just like we ask where the time goes, but we feel like we're still like right here. You know what I mean? It's like when we picked up our conversation, like it was like 30 years ago, like nothing changed. So it's, yeah, so to live in the present, I think is really it's a state of contentment where time really doesn't matter, as much as a lot of other people make it out to be.
Oh yeah, I bet, dude. Like because you guys have been together for so many years, it feels like it was yesterday for you guys, probably.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just doesn't. It just feels, right. You don't measure the time. It just, like I said, it just feels present. Like she's always, in a way, so much she's always been there, right? Because think about it. I mean, we've been together longer than, well, yeah, we've been together about as long as we've been alive. Like at the time we met, like we've been married longer than what the age was when we met. You know what I'm saying? So that's the so in a way, she kind of feels like, yeah, she's always sort of been a part of me, to an extent. So that's, like I said, that's a great feeling to have, and to and to again still have optimism. Like we're excited about, I guess, this next chapter that we're going into, as far as again, more vacation time, more things to explore, like things we put off a lot of things because we had a lot of kids to raise, and braces, and then college, and all these things we had to provide. And now it's exciting because of that. Now we get to start planning some things. Some people call it bucket lists, but we're just excited about what's coming. We last week we went to see George Lopez at the New Jersey Pack. We love going to comedy shows, so we started getting on the comedy show circuit again, and we like to laugh and kind of cut loose and whatnot. So we're just in this season where we're just really enjoying ourselves, seeing we love concerts, we love, like I said, comedy clubs, we love trips, and yeah. So like I said, it's just a very exciting time.
Good for you guys. Are you guys planning anything for your 30th, or are you guys going to do anything on that?
Thinking about it, because there was one thing we were thinking about doing was, we were trying to decide if we want to do a second trip in the fall, and we're still kind of contemplating that. I'll see what tax season looks like after that's over, and in fact, that's what I'll be doing next week, and I'll get into the taxes. I've done my taxes for like almost 40 years, so I've never had to go to like an accountant or anything like that. So I just kind of do my kids' taxes. I used to do my parents' taxes, so I'm gearing up for that. And so we'll see what that looks like. So we were thinking if we don't do that second trip in September, then maybe we may push that as a part of the 30th um, anniversary, doing something
Where you
like
guys think of going?
your neck of the woods, Mediterranean. So we're trying to still decide. Well, we'll see. The thing we want to do both. So there's a Western Mediterranean, which is Greece, Turkey, that side of things, and then
Cruise,
there's
pretty much, right?
yeah, and then there's the eastern side, which is like, Spain and Rome and things like that. But even then, what I like about the cruises is that it gives you like a taste of it. Like the friends we were with last night, like they went to Rome for 10 days. So we're thinking like, let's check these places out. And if it's really something that we want to do a deeper dive in, we can always plan to go back and have a much longer excursion. You know what I mean? If we go
Oh,
to Greece, we
you're gonna
can.
fall in love with Greece. You already know
Oh
this.
no, it's everything. Like I said, everything's on the list. It's not so much, we're not choosing one over the other. It's just a matter of when do we want to do it now, or do we want to do it? But all of Greece is on the list. Um, like I said, Spain, Rome, Europe, is on the list. Hawaii is on the list. In fact, last year that was the plan. We were going to do Hawaii, and then we were like, for the cost to go to Hawaii, I can plan 2-3 vacations for the cost because the
I heard
airfare to
it's
get.
expensive.
Yeah, and it's also expensive while you're there. So we're still deciding whether when I guess it's a matter of when, not if we'll go, but it's a matter of when. And then you got which island, because you got like 5-6 islands down there, and each
More.
island has its own flavor to it. You know what I mean? Like one island is more like a city. It's like going to New York City,
So,
and then the other
I'll be
one's
honest with you,
more like both volcanoes and stuff.
I literally had this same conversation with a customer of mine. So we were talking, and I mentioned, I'm Greek and everything, and she just went to Greece last year. It cost her a lot of money. But she went to the 5 big islands that all tourists go.
Mhm.
But you can go to the other islands and get as much out of your vacation, even more to see, and spend half what you're going to spend on Crete or any other islands. If you go to
Right,
Andros, for example, where my
right.
grandparents are from, you can probably pay less than half what you're going to pay in Crete or Cyprus or anything like that,
Yeah, yeah.
because it's not a major tourist one, but it's still tourists there, but not as. If I tell you, close your eyes and tell me 3 islands, Cyprus and Crete are the first 2 you're going to come off your head,
Right, right,
and Athens is another one, obviously. You know what
right,
I'm saying?
right.
So people say Athens is not an island, but even the mainland is a large island. All Greece is islands in a way.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot to do to diagnose. So Athens, I'll tell you, they definitely go. You're not going to save any money there, unfortunately. But if you try to go to any other island, Andros is one of the most beautiful islands out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna hit you up, as far as giving us the skating on, what's the best bang for the buck in terms
Yeah.
of excursions and whatnot. Because also again, we're not super young anymore, so we don't want to be like on our feet, 20 hours a day seeing everything. You just want to go to a beautiful place just to kind of take in the natural beauty of the world that you're in. So you definitely want to you definitely want to be able to do that. But before we get into the show tonight, just again, we appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. Just make sure when you come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button both here and hop over to Sparta HQ Network. Hit the like button over there. Certainly appreciate some love on that channel as well. And certainly any cash apps or super chats that you want to give to the channel tonight, you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen, Black Man Unfiltered. You can certainly give a super chat. You can give a cash app there or super chat to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. And anything that you want to certainly give to us, our individual cash apps, or scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So again, we appreciate your support. We appreciate you guys spending your Sunday evenings with us on another edition of the Gray Area Show. And so over the next several shows, we're gonna, a lot of different topics. Certainly we're gonna do some deeper dives and some deeper relationship topics that we typically haven't dealt with in the past. But we want to explore some of these. So again, it's going to be a variety of different shows on a variety of different topics, but certainly relationships is something that we're going to sort of do a deeper dive into over the next few months. And so definitely very excited about that. And also remember every fourth show. So we're just coming off of a call-in show last week. Yeah, 4 shows from now, we do a call-in show. So anything that you want to, come up and chime with us on from a topic that we talked about in the past, or just, talk about current events, what's going on, certainly you're more than welcome to come on those shows. But these shows, we typically want to keep them tight in terms of their content. So tonight we're talking about, really it's about infidelity, but really what we're drilling in on is what type of infidelity hurts more. What one really gets you. So obviously you have physical, sexual infidelities, and then you have emotional infidelities that take place. So I would just go into just opening salva just to get your thoughts, Pete. What are your thoughts on either one of those? What is your initial gut when it comes to emotional cheating versus physical cheating? And is there a major difference, or is it all the same to you, or whatever? I mean, and just based on your own experience, if you've endured some of that, because I think you've shared pretty publicly that you've gone through some infidelities in that regard, and have you seen both, and which one hurt the most? So if you just want to open up, and then I'll share some information and some stats.
So I think both hurt equally, but in a different way. Let's break down. Are we talking emotional, like she's only talking to somebody but didn't do anything? Or like
Right. Emotional cheating is non-physical. So
Okay.
again, no kissing, no sexual content, but you develop an emotional bond with someone in a intimate way, not just a friendship, but an emotional bond with somebody who is not your spouse or girlfriend or something. I know you've never been married, but you've been engaged. So so that's kind of the framework, and I'll show some slides that kind of
Yeah.
clarify some of those definitions.
I've
But
been through
just your
both.
initial gut.
All right. So I'm gonna kind of turn the clock a little back to my ex. So towards our towards our end of our relationship, she got really obsessed with one of my best friend. His name is Dimitri. He's a Greek guy. He knows pretty fluent Spanish. So all of a sudden, she always wants to talk to him, and she was trying to hang out with him.
And your girlfriend, she was Spanish herself, right?
Yes, she was Dominican,
Okay.
100% pure Dominican, off the boat Dominican. So after fast forward a few months later, he wanted to be open with me. He goes, listen, dude, I'll be straight with you. Lizzie tried to contact me multiple times, tried to hang out with me, and I put a stop to it. He did the right thing, obviously.
Mhm.
But my heart kind of sank a little bit. Like seriously, even after this is only a few months after. So yes, there are still feelings there. They're still fresh. I've seen it in multiple other different ways. It still hurts no matter what.
Mhm.
Can you overpass the emotional? Depends how bad it is.
Mhm.
If it's something just nothing too serious, you could maybe overcome that. Maybe that's a big maybe I'm talking about.
Mhm.
From a scale 1 to 10, I'll give it maybe a 1 or 2%. Because if you're willing to talk to somebody else behind my back, you're willing to cheat on me too. In physical. Now, the physical is the worst one ever, personally, because one of my exes, I caught her right in the act. Literally.
Oh wow.
I never shared that story, have I?
No. Wow.
So this is I was engaged twice. That was my first engagement. And I had the credit score at the time. So I'm in home. It's a regular day. My mom looked at me and goes, what are you doing home? I thought she was being smart. I was like, I live here. Of course, I'm doing it home. We always came through the garage door. We put our cars in the garage and came through that door. Everybody in the family did that. Even family members who visit us always come through the garage door. We just left it open. You just let yourself in.
Right.
Similar like I came to your house, Paul.
Mhm.
So I'm going, some reason she came through the front door. I don't know. I get upstairs. She's literally in the middle of the act in my bed with my mother downstairs in my house. Yeah. So 3 things they went to my head. 1, I cannot stay on camera because of YouTube policies. Second one, I want to break both their necks. And 3, do I break her neck? Obviously, I didn't do nothing. She attacked me afterwards. That's the funny part. I'm the victim. Now she's playing the victim. So we try to work it out. I put that in air quotes for a reason. It was nothing working out. So a week later, she just packed up and left. Yeah. Wow. I'm the bad guy. And because I was working, trying to, pay her car off, trying to pay my car off, pay the mortgage, pay everything. She didn't have to work. She wanted to work. That's fine. Her money went to the bills. Her money was her spending money. That's it. But I'm the bad guy. So it took me a very, very long time to get over that. The only mistake I did was I didn't see professional help at the time. I didn't have an insurance at the time because at the time, we're talking about 15 years ago. Cooks didn't get insurance. Chefs didn't get insurance. You didn't get PTO time. You didn't get sick time. You got sick. You worked through it. The old school mentality.
And also a lot of insurance, because I don't know if they even were they even covering mental health to the extent they are now. Certainly, I think a few years ago it wasn't as
serious.
Yeah.
So the only person I had to kind of vent to was my old buddy CQ. He was the only one I could have had a conversation and trying to get through this. Obviously, he had his own stuff going through with with his family. He has a wife. He didn't have a kid yet, but he had a wife. He has his own family stuff to work. I can't ask him to drop what he's doing.
Right.
So, and there was also the time he was moving to Maryland, so that's also kind of affect having a boy hanging out.
Right.
What really pissed me off, and if they're watching, they can go fuck themselves. Every single one of them. Every person said it would be my friend, and I needed just. Not money, didn't care about anything. I just needed an ear to open up to listen to. Nobody. I mean, nobody except CQ was there for me. So if they're watching, go fuck yourselves. Simple. Wow. And karma will bite you in the fucking ass, I hope.
Wow.
Simple as that.
Right.
So that physical sucks. Definitely when you see it in your own eyes.
Yeah, that's
it traumatized you. I couldn't trust a woman afterwards. The only woman I trust was my mother. I didn't trust my cousins. I didn't trust my aunts. I didn't trust my bosses. I didn't trust any woman or a vagina. Simple as that. I didn't trust for a minimum 10 years. Then afterwards, I started dropping the guard. Not constantly, unconsciously. Because I was going through the trauma. Now, if that was just emotional, would it have been as bad? I don't know. I went through emotional. It wasn't that bad, but
you said this. Well, this is the question, because you led off with saying they're equally bad.
Yeah,
but you're saying that one, you could have handled the emotional maybe a little bit better than the physical. So I would think then that the physical is worse. They're both bad, clearly, but the physical was more, and not only was the physical, but the fact that you witnessed it, certainly adds another layer and dimension to it as well. But it seems like from the way you laid it out, it seems like you're saying that the physical is worse than the emotional, that you can get over that more than the physical part.
I think the reason the emotional one I did is because my buddy at least told me the truth. You know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, this and this happened. Now, if I found out a different way, maybe she was, by accident, I glimpse over a phone, or I see another guy snugger and I start asking questions. Maybe some multiple reasons, you know what I'm saying? But that is the hard, for me, it was very hard. The physical, the emotional, again, mine was like very small versus some other people went through. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm still thinking like, for me personally, it was different. Maybe for somebody else, it'd be, it still hurts no matter what, how you look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
no,
yeah.
most people are not going to witness this walking through people,
Yeah.
walking into their bedrooms and
Yeah,
seeing,
that's
yeah.
Or you see people who get like the private investigator and they take photos or pictures or something they show you later, but again, to kind of walk in on something like that. And what did now if you don't want to share, you don't have to. I mean,
Go
what
ahead.
did you do? Did you say like, what are you guys doing? Did you beat the guy up? Did you what
Like I said,
what?
I froze. Like I was in shock. Like I
Mm.
said, the one thing I went through my head, I can't say on YouTube because of the policies.
Yeah.
I can read 3 things went through my head that day. Do I break both their necks, or do I break one of their necks?
Mm.
So she jumped up and started attacking me. She's trashing me.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. She jumped. So in the middle of the act,
Mhm.
she stops. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking she's like butt naked or whatever.
Pretty much.
And she
was right.
comes at you physically.
Yeah.
and attacks you.
Yeah, and then on top of that, she had the nerve to say it was your fault.
Wow.
My fault. My fault. I came to my house.
My gosh, man.
Where I live.
You can't make Tyler Perry can't make that up. My goodness. I mean, that's a Tyler Perry story right there, man. Wow.
I can write a book about this stuff.
Wow.
And people won't believe me half times.
Yeah. To me, that's another level. Like, like I said, beyond just comparing, sexual, non-sexual, emotional versus sexual, again, adding that to admit that she didn't attack you both physically, and then she attacked you with an accusation that it was your fault that she was in this situation in your house with your mom. That's you don't this kind of thing doesn't happen every day, so. But want to acknowledge some of the people in the chat tonight. Obviously, we got Danny Cook. Thank you for your comments. As far as certainly, there's from scripture, Jesus said, if you even look at a woman with lustful heart, you've committed adultery. Got our guys Braxton Snake Fiend in the house tonight. Appreciate you being here. And I think this is this our Anissa? Is this his BMU Anissa in the building tonight? They're equally bad, often go hand in hand. Certainly appreciate that. And then we got Steven saying never trust a woman, period. But appreciate you guys certainly being part of the conversation tonight. Just keep the chat respectful is all we ask. Certainly in the chat, we will police it, and certainly guys who act up in the chat, we will bounce certainly from it. So, but all we ask, just be respectful, just be adults in the space and keep the conversation civil. That's all we ask for. But let me share some stats that I found just from researching this a little bit ahead of the show. That generally speaking, even though people are saying that they're both equally bad and whatnot, but it seems like there is a difference or a distinction between how men and women perceive infidelity, physical or sexual infidelity versus sexual infidelity. So I'm just going to go to my slides to share a few, and then we can come back and review. Have the conversation. So again, this is from Psychology Today. Again, whether you feel about the publication or not, but again, I just found this was one of the more recent articles that came out. So an article here, the affairs that hurt men and women most. And there does seem to be a distinction between the two. So this came out in August of last year. So it talks about just the key points. Again, research shows that more men are hurt by sexual betrayal and women by emotional infidelity. So we want to just talk about just definitions because we talked about that at the beginning of the show. So emotional affairs, again, in the intimacy that is not physical. An emotional affair happens when someone builds a close, often secret emotional bond with someone outside of their relationship. And again, size of that is, again, prioritizing someone else for emotional support, sharing personal stories or struggles that feel private, feeling excited about hearing from or seeing the other person, or hiding how close the relationship actually is. So again, when you say she's just a friend, is she really that? Or is it going, or is it something else? So my man Anton's in the chat tonight. So again, other folks have been. You might want to just check your sound. It seemed like so far I haven't had an issue. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just double checked that on my phone.
yeah,
and it
double
was
check
fine.
that on your end, and if anyone else is hearing this, just put a 1 in the chat if you're hearing us. Okay, but just make sure nothing happened in StreamYard. So again, so emotional affairs, again, no contact, but there's emotions, there are feelings that are taking place that are leading to that sort of that kind of situation. Then you have physical affairs. So again, the classic breach of boundaries. Again, a physical affair involves sexual contact outside the primary relationship. It could be a single encounter or an ongoing connection. Sometimes it's driven by desire. Sometimes it's by resentment or disconnect at home. Again, common traits of that is, again, secrecy around whereabouts or time spent with someone else, hiding communication, text calls, or social media messages, lying or covering up physical intimacy, and then risking physical and emotional safety within a relationship. What the research is showing. So again, there were 2 studies that were cited in this article. One, in a journal of evolution of human behavior, researchers asked over 250 college students to imagine their partner either having sex with someone else or falling in love with someone else. A majority of the men said that physical betrayal would upset them more. And then this also, they also cited a study from 10 years ago. They had a study by Frederick and Fales in 2016, in which over half the male participants reported that sexual infidelity felt more upsetting than emotional betrayal. Here, even when there's no emotional connection involved, many men in these studies describe feeling rejected, humiliated, and deeply hurt by the idea that their partner being physically intimate with someone else. So again, there definitely seemed to be a difference. Now, again, for women, in contrast, women in those same studies more often said emotional betrayal when a partner develops feelings or emotional closeness with someone else was more painful. In the Fredericks and Fales study, 65% of women said that they would be more upset by an emotional infidelity than sexual cheating. And again, many described the emotional betrayal as a sign that their partner had already left the relationship. All right. So again, so it was interesting. Then I got this bit of information, some statistics from this Roseville counseling group. I'm just going to drop in the chat because again, I just got another text about someone may not be able to hear us. If you guys can hear us, that physical betrayal would upset.
I don't know if you heard that. I played the YouTube video in the background.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So Anton, you might want to look at that and just check and see if it's your sound. So again, so from this counseling group, so they cite some statistics, and again, this is recent data from 2026. So again, how common is infidelity, period, in relationships? So again, according to from the General Social Survey, approximately 20% of married men and 13% of married women report having had sex with someone else other than their spouse while married. The often cited claim that half of marriages experience infidelity is overstated when looking at the research. Again, it's approximately 20 to 25% of marriages experience sexual infidelity. Now, again, the flip of that, however, is that when we're talking about emotional affairs, research suggests that 45% of men and 35% of women have engaged in some form of emotional infidelity in their marriage. The distinction matters because 64% of couples report that an emotional affair can be as damaging or even more harmful than a physical one. The rise in emotional affairs, again, especially when it comes to, women tend to have more of them. Okay, so 91.6% of women admit to having an emotional affair at some point, compared to 78.6% of men, where these things tend to take place. 31% of these affairs happen in the workplace, and it tends to also to happen in greater numbers in upper management. All right. So again, with non-management employees, 9%, middle management, 24%, upper management, 37%. In fact, I remember a couple years ago, there was I don't know if you were saying, I guess there was the CEO, and he was with this upper VP, and I guess they were making out like at a basketball game or something like that. And I don't know, one of the kiss cams caught him or something like that, but they were both married or whatever, and they got caught on kiss cam. So that became, I don't know whatever happened in that situation or whatever. But yeah, they're like, this, like, the whole world is kind of seeing these guys at this sporting
In
event.
other
And
words, in Spartan language, you gotta call your pants down, my man.
pretty much. So again, that was a pretty big story at the time, but certainly emotional affairs is becoming a real thing, and I've certainly seen my share of them. Um, Again, social media is adding new complexities, certainly, to the situation. Digital communication makes it easier to maintain secret connections, blur boundaries, and to rationalize inappropriate relationships just as friendships. And again, causes of infidelity. Again, some of these we've heard about before: lack of emotional intimacy, sexual dissatisfaction, unresolved conflict, or poor communication, whether results in a sexual or an emotional affair. It seems like the same causes seems to be at the root of both. And then there's individual factors. Here, one thing they pointed out is that if you have a history of cheating, they say cheaters cheat. So if you cheated in the past, it's a good chance that you may cheat in the future. And then there's this one other thing that they introduce here. They call the differentiation factor. Those who struggle to maintain their sense of self while in close relationships may be more vulnerable to affairs. When people depend on their partner for validation and self worth, they become susceptible to seeking that validation elsewhere when the relationship hits inevitable rough patches. Right. So again, I guess they're kind of drawing on a profile of what type of persons cheat. So certainly, if you have a past history of cheating, you're more likely to cheat again. And then if you're one of those people who depends on your partner for validation, if you don't have a sense of, self-image, you just think that, like, if the person said, like, okay, no one else wants you or whatever, at least that's what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'll show someone else wants me, and then you just develop a bond with somebody because you see somebody who tends to value more than your partner does. Can marriages survive? So again, this here talks about multiple studies find that 65 to 75% of couples stay together after discovering an affair. But then it says, however, staying together isn't the same as thriving. Some studies suggest that only 15 to 20% of couples achieve meaningful reconciliation 5 years after discovery. So this is telling me that inevitably, even if you staying doesn't mean that you guys are good or that you've truly reconciled or that you've built something. But again, some people stay because of financial reasons, economics. You have kids. That's another big reason why I think a lot of people stay together. You don't want to break the family up. And but as far as people who are really able to come out on the other side better than before entering the situation, those stats seem to go down dramatically. So I just kind of want to share those stats and just kind of setting the landscape a little bit. So just Pete, your just initial thoughts on the studies, on the statistics,
Is one
and just
that
your
I
general
don't
thoughts
agree
on the yeah.
100%. The one that you said cheating, cheaters always cheat. I know a bunch of men who they were playboys when they were a younger age. They cheated because they didn't find one decent woman for themselves. But when they found the right woman, they were loyal and they're still married to that one woman. They never cheated, never looked at nothing. So I don't agree with that 100%.
Mhm.
But so this is my personal theory with cheating. When we were younger, most men cheated. So it got twisted around.
What do
as
you
we
mean?
got
Wait,
older.
hang on. What do you mean by that?
When we were in high school, college time, a lot of guys just slept around. That's what we did. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. But
And
is it? But I think you need to make a distinction there. Slept around, but were these guys in committed relationships though? And then also you got to ask yourself too, what is cheating? Like if you are, yeah, you could be with somebody, but if you guys aren't exclusive, then is it cheating if you then go and sleep with multiple or different people or whatever? I think that's, again, a lot of people may not like that, but I think that is something that has to be in the equation also. If it's out in the open, some people do have open relationships, or some people
so
do,
what I'm saying here is, if you are in a relationship and you're saying you're official, you're not going to be seeing anybody else, but you're just saying that so you can get your pecker wet. So that's what a lot of guys did back in the day. So it got flipped a few years later. Like women got like, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm not gonna be loyal to any guy because no guys are loyal. So it flipped the role. And now
Mhm.
when guys are trying to get serious to have kids and get married, that's why I think we can't find any decent women, because we were cheating on all the good women back in the day, and now all the good women says, I'm not putting myself through that. I'm just gonna do me now.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying there. Yeah, I don't know if it is I would have to so you're saying guys, and obviously guys did. I mean, please, when you were in your teens and 20s, you say almost anything to get to get to the woman and whatnot. Say, oh, you're the only one and whatnot, and just to get it. And I've seen that, so like, fortunately, I've never done that, but I've certainly seen that goes around. I don't know if that was, I don't know if it's fair to say the majority of guys though, but I'll take your word for it.
I know
That
a bunch of men who said, looked at a woman like, I love you. And really, it didn't mean crap. They just wanted to get in her pants. That's all they
Mhm.
wanted to do at the time.
Yeah, but
And
even saying I love you doesn't necessarily signify a commitment at that at that time. But I see what you're saying. Though. I mean, guys, players are players, and certainly I've encountered many of them over my life who would again do anything to get to the sex, and they would say anything, and I knew God, and it's weird because back in the day, again, I wasn't as popular with the girls, but guys would literally come up to me and talk about the women they were with, and I knew they were with somebody else. And the guy was like sharing with me like his conquest. I'm looking at the guys like what am I supposed to think of? Like you the man because you've this one girls that I know, and you're coming. I was just with this one and whatnot. Like what am I supposed to think of you at this point in time? But he thought he thought he was the man because he was doing these things. But he definitely went down
so
the peg of
here's
my
a
eyes.
funny
But
story.
this is even in high school.
Here's a funny story that happened to me back in high school. It was one girl. She was literally the hottest girl in high school, named Jennifer. So anybody who wanted to try to get with her, it doesn't matter if you had a girlfriend or not, you would cheat, just be with Jennifer. All right. So I got a knock on my door one day. My mom goes
Mhm.
to me. It's a girl named Jennifer at the door. Like, and I only knew one Jennifer. When I told you I ran out of my room, down those stairs, a bat out of hell, it was an understatement. All right.
Mhm. Yep.
So stuff happened that night. 3 days later, I didn't say anything to anybody. I can't get to my business myself, whatever. People were saying, Dominic's looking for you. Dominic was the quarterback of the football team. Big guy, 6 foot, 6'2", 6'3", only about 250, roughly. Dominic want to talk to you. I go, why does Dominic want to look for me? I'm like, Dominic has my number. Like, he could have
Mhm.
just text me, call me or whatever, or direct connect me with walkie talkies back then. The next tells.
Mhm.
Goes, he's not in a good mood, bro. I will watch out. And if I knew who Dominic was, he was in a bad mood. You stayed away from Dominic.
Uh-oh. I lost my partner. I'll wait for him to chime back in the show. But while I'm waiting for Peter to come back, there he is.
Sorry
What's
for
up?
that, guys. So I was saying, when Dominic was in a bad mood, you stayed away from him because I seen his bad moods days,
Mhm.
and they're far from between. But when those blue, I call them blue moon Dominic days come out, you stayed away. I
Mhm.
go, well, I'm not going near Dominic. All
Mhm.
of a sudden, Dominic comes down the hall. And he goes, "Get over here." I'm like, "I'm not coming near you. Fuck that shit." He goes, "Get the fuck over here." He goes to me. I'm like, "What's up, dude?" I'm like, "What the fuck? We're boys. You know, talk to me a little better." He goes to me, "Were you with Jennifer the other night?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" Didn't know at the time. "Oh, we were together." Like, "Oh, fuck me." He goes, as he wound up, I ducked and I fucking got out of there, bat out of hell. I was trying to find anywhere in the school to hide at this point. So the bunch of the cheerleaders knew who I was, and I'm running down the hall, and they heard what happened. He goes, "Pete, get in here." I'm like, "In there?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "You won't ask me twice." I hid in a girl's locker room. I'm butt naked. I'm sitting in there. I'm like, "I'm in heaven, or I'm in or what?" And they looked at me like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "We're trying to save your life right now." A few days later, Dominic calmed down. You know, he found out the truth. You know, Jennifer was Jennifer. She slept around. Simple. That's how she was. And it was just unfortunate. Dominic got hurt in the process. I didn't know anything about it. It was like they were together for like 3 days before that happened. I wouldn't have done that to the poor guy. But my point is trying to get to, and like people always find a way to cheat somehow. Sometimes, not always. Not back in those days, back in high school days. I'm talking about. Like, "Oh, I'm going to come in a relationship in high school." Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't even know if I want to use that as a measuring stick. I want to, I guess, keep this conversation to, I guess, adults, at least college. But high school stuff, everyone's trying to do something. But Anton made a point, talk about his niece told him that a significant number of her peers are in committed relationships but still have relationships with other people. Are these girls or guys that you're talking about? If you could add some clarity to it, and certainly we've all heard and we know about what happens in the military. The guy has a wife and kids back home, and they're in the service overseas, and things tend to happen both at home and overseas. So we know about the issues there. That can certainly cause people to stray and get involved in certain things because of the distance and whatnot. So that makes, in a way that almost makes sense. But certainly when you have people who live in the same house and, are with each other on a daily basis. Now, I think certainly having a conversation about what's happening there, where people start to drift apart, what is leading to these situations where these either emotional affairs happen or these sexual affairs happen. I guess that's still like an open question. And it's one of the reasons that for me that again I tend to treat my marriage a year at a time, because as I've said talked about in the past, we knew a lot of friends that couples that our kids grew up together. And when the pandemic happened, coming out of it, so this is like 2020 when it happened. By 2022 ish, we started kind of seeing people again, and both, we started to see people who we just assumed that they were together, and we found out that they were no longer together. And so we saw a lot of pandemic breakups during that time. So that really changed my perspective when it came to how to look at marriage. That a lot of times you may even go in with the best of intentions, but things happen, things drift. Sometimes it's not the big thing that leads to these things, physical or emotional. But are you checking in? Are you guys locked in and cued in terms of, are you investing and pouring into the relationship in the ways that the partner needs? Now, again, I will never give a justification for cheating, ever. But I do believe in cause and effect. And so when these things happen, we have to look at and examine why these things were happening. So again, Anton says that surprisingly, girls are seeing monogamy as a form of control. I am seeing it's you saying monogamy is a form of control. I am seeing, and I've even heard my daughters talk about this some, if not with their friends or sometimes even feelings that they've had. That the idea it's like a situation for them where they want good men, but sometimes they consider good men controlling. It's a weird dynamic because I said, I told him like a man who is disciplined, a man who is has goals, ultimately discipline starts with self.
Mhm.
And so a man who is disciplined is going to not only insist on him being, he's only going to ask for what he's willing to do for himself. But I do see a lot of women will say that a man like that can be very controlling. And to an extent, I don't have a problem with that. I think certainly a man should be in control of his environment and certainly have a certain level of control in his relationships and what he allows and what he would not allow in his relationship. So again, if a woman wants to call that controlling, then I can sort of understand why that sentiment comes up. But again, if you want a successful guy, I think a lot of times, you're going to have to deal with, that he's going to have standards that he holds for himself and that he wants from the people around him. So if that's your issue of control, then then you're going to have a problem finding anyone of substance. And if you think that monogamy is a way to get around that control, that's dangerous in my view because you're opening yourself up to not only just the emotional bonds that you create with people, diseases, all kinds of things that can happen when you are, when you're exposing yourself to multiple partners like that. So it's unfortunate, but I can't say I disagree with your comment. But again, I just think that the net effect of where's that getting you in the long run, having that kind of mindset. I don't think it's a positive one. Again, in my view. And then Anissa chimes in and says physical cheating includes dishonest manipulation, gaslighting, humiliation, financial infidelity. Um, yeah, I mean, certainly. Well, you're saying physical. You would say physical cheating. I don't know if I would put it in that category. I would say more emotional than physical. But certainly I can see, if you want to take in that direction, I would just define it on the other side. I don't disagree with any of these things. Not hiding your finances, or manipulating people, not loving them, but trying to I think there's a certain level of control that could be toxic. Then I can certainly understand that being an issue, in a relationship now. But again, we may differ over where to classify it, but I definitely think that those things are destructive and certainly can lead to the the types of infidelities that we're talking about, the emotional infidelity, seeking comfort with someone else emotionally or even sexually with someone else. I can certainly see that. So I'm not totally disagreeing. Shout out to our guy King, the actual King Smith in the build tonight. Shout out to you, brother. My man's out there, building a platform and network. You'll find him all over Facebook and YouTube and all over. Check him out on his personal channel, but also check out his show with I don't know what you call it, his partner. Again,
His
I
lady.
struggle with her. His lady, his woman, the King and Me, the King and Emmy show. If you want to drop your show in the chat, Monday 7 p.m. On YouTube Eastern Standard Time. But that's a good show where they certainly chop it up about relationship topics and whatnot. So again, that's always, like I said, I'm always walking my dog when those guys are on. But that's a good channel to invest your time in as well. So check out King and Michelle as they do their thing. Certainly in their space. Niece has another comment. Are people honest about their physical cheating? No. They are more than likely manipulating you so they can go and physically cheat with someone. Certainly that's a good point. Um, uh, Anton, again, during the pandemic, couples were able to address unresolved issues, and it either led to either one of the two results. They stayed together or ended things. And like I said, I certainly, so we saw a lot of endings. And but a lot of those things were there even prior to the pandemic. And so it just escalated when again, when you're isolated with someone, again, your job, your career, being out. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you're like a busy professional, you're out the house more time out of the house than not. and that gave you a sense of accomplishment, or that gave you a sense of cover for you to either have emotional affairs, whether it be folks in the office, or whatever, you were able to keep some distance so you didn't have to deal with anything. But certainly being in that situation, yeah, you got to where the real was. And like I said, in our case, we saw more than our share of couples who didn't make it, and that certainly had a profound impact on me. And then after certainly conversation with my wife, we were like, yeah, we gonna take this thing 1 year at a time. So I'm very intentional when we talk about I'm in season 29. In 2 weeks, season 29 will end, and my wife and I will embark on season number 30. And we just take it just for the year. And the way I look at it, once season 29 is over, then we don't really talk about it anymore. It's done. I mean, we can have a sort of a retrospective on it and kind of capsulize it, but we put that in the back in the rear view, and we keep it going, because those prior 29 years really isn't going to mean a whole lot as far as what we're going to do now. So again, we live in a very present existence, and we don't even talk so much about back. And I mean, yeah, we may talk about our daughters and growing up and stuff, but we don't even talk about our relationship like what we did almost 30 years ago. We barely talk about that stuff, because like I said, it's not it's not a useful tool for us charting the future and like where do we go from here. So Anton says, yeah, partner, significant other, lady. So again, King, how do you refer to refer to Michelle in your particular situation? The girlfriend seems, I think you guys are a little bit too old for girlfriend, but girlfriend and boyfriend. But certainly, but again, certainly I see you guys putting the work in to build a strong relationship. Our guy Braxton talked about swinging, twosomes, threesomes, foursomes. My gosh, the normal is the normal dating or married people if they're into that. I'm trying to make sure I understand your question. Swinging, twosomes, threesomes, foursomes is normal among dating or married people if they are into that. I think that might have been. I think
so. He's trying to say. I know what he's trying to say. So there are a lot of couples that do, or they're called swingers, meaning they
right,
can have multiple partners. They don't even call partners. They go up to each other and say, "Can I
right,
play with you?" Longest
right,
permission of the partner. A
right.
threesome, foursome is literally what it stands for. You
Now,
have
I get that, but
yeah.
then the question I would then ask is that cheating, emotional or
Okay,
physical?
swinging is not cheating because that's equal on both parties.
Right,
So threesome, foursome, and all that stuff. That is again, that is agreed with all parties.
yeah,
That is normal in a lot of dating couples. If you're obviously not on dating apps, a lot of dating apps will say, "Hey, I'm in a marriage, but I am looking for a third party."
yeah. There
That's
certainly
fine.
does all kinds of hookup, for all different types of
Correct.
lifestyles. There's all types of sites that you can go to find what you're looking for. If you're, like I said, if you're into those things. But again, I don't know if that, to me, that's a different mindset and mentality. Now, again, if you're religiously conservative, you may find that still to be marriage and infidelity. I would probably agree with you, like, in terms of that. I'm a one man, one woman type of guy. So again, I'm not a fan of that. But as far as the dishonesty, the hiding of relationships, not being open with your partner about the status or the state of your relationship, I think all those things are destructive. And if you're not, going to be honest about that, then yeah, it can lead to all sorts of things. And again, it's seldom ever good when you allow those things to creep in. So again, part of this conversation tonight is not just talking about what hurts more. And I didn't even give my insights yet, so I think I'll do so now when we're talking about what would I take harder, emotional cheating or physical. I would probably go with the rest of the guys. I would probably say physical, because me as a man, I'm very responsive. Like, my thoughts kind of dictate how my body functions. I'll just say that. And I don't know if I could get past the fact that my wife, now again, also keep in mind, now my wife was, and I don't think she mind sharing this. My wife was a virgin when we got married, so I'm the only man that she's ever been with.
Mm-hmm.
So if that ever happened to where she was, found herself in a relationship, a sexual relationship with someone else, that would be hard to get over. You know what I mean? That would constantly be on my mind. And quite frankly, just keeping it a buck, I don't even know if I could perform because it would be such a on my mind. I don't know if I could have. I don't. You can give me all the blue chews that you want. I don't know if I would get a response. I don't know if I would, be able to open up if that happened. It would have to take a lot of work. And again, I don't know if the work would be successful because I would think that not only a marriage was violated, but a covenant was broken. I mean, again, I'm Christian. I believe that marriage is a covenant, and I think when you break that covenant, it's kind of hard to put that back together. I'm not saying it's impossible. I've known people who've done it, but um, I certainly think that for me personally, I could certainly find a way if it's an emotional attachment with someone that you found that again, maybe we weren't talking, maybe I was traveling. So again, I've done a lot of business travel, certainly this past year. If I was on the road a lot and you just found yourself just talking to someone in the office, and again, I've seen a ton of office, whether you want to call them romances or whatnot. I mean, folks hanging, and I would ask the question sometimes, just like, look, I mean, these are married people, but you always see them outside in this. You used to have this one job I was at. They had a place for smoking cigarettes. So they're always on cigarette breaks together, or they're always going on walks together, or they're always in the cafeteria together. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, there's only so much that you can be with someone before, even if you don't want to. There's certain things that inevitably I think happen the more you're around someone in intimate settings or one-on-one settings, and I'm just not one to put myself in that situation. So I know for me, it's always been about I don't allow those things to happen. Like I don't hang out with other women. I just don't, like, work wise. I never put myself in a one-on-one situation. So even it's like, hey, you want to go to lunch, or even if we got to go to like a business function or meeting or something like that, come on back when you can't be. But even when you go like on a business trip, I'm taking my own car. Like, and I'll try to fudge some kind of reason not to be in a situation where I'm one on one. That's just not something I've done, and my wife is the same way. We don't allow ourselves to be in those kind of situations. Yes, there's work. I've had most of my bosses have been women, so I've been in situations where I've had female superiors. But uh, again, in the office, in the meeting rooms or whatnot, but never in a car. And even friends that I might have had um, before marriage, it was an understanding that I'm not calling you to talk to you like one on one. I mean, we're not doing that. You know, we might have
I know.
chilled, or we might have had we talk over things. But once I got married, it was kind of understood that this relationship is going to change. Doesn't mean I don't wish you well and drop us a postcard, a Christmas card, let us know. And if you get married yourself, great, and congrats and all that kind of stuff. If you invite us to our wedding, we'll come. But I'm not trying to maintain a that kind of relationship, even with social media. I may text someone, a woman, in relation, like when I was planning my wife's birthday party, I reached out to certain women and say, hey, I'm inviting you to our party. Are you available to come? I've given the details and whatnot, but that's it. Like I don't people don't text me and say, hey, how you doing? Just checking to see how you doing. I don't do any of that stuff. Um, because again,
So,
we just don't open ourselves up to those sort of things.
so I have seen it both ways in the corporate dining. So back in the day, before all these corporate rules started, It was very common. A lot of cooks and servers, they the naughty in the back, if you know
Mhm.
what I mean.
Yeah.
So when corporate came into the kitchens, that changed completely. And it changed to a point like, yeah, no, this is not allowed anymore in any kitchen. Um, Mom and pop shops still happen. I'll be honest with you
Mhm.
guys.
Yeah.
Now, I see a lot of corporate people. I see a lot of things. I see a lot of them hanging out together, having lunch. That's it. I
Mhm.
know some of them that know each other's husbands and wives, know each other's family. They're just coworkers. They're having lunch and they go back to their desk and call it a day. They
Mhm.
work on the same project. They work on the same client or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm.
When I worked at for TMG Health, that was very common to see a lot of coworkers have lunch and kind of talk a game plan and kind of talk a little about home stuff too during the lunch break.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, like I said, I think it's natural. You're in business with people. You're in the office environment. I mean, again, there's road trips that we've been on. You're gonna talk about a lot of things, and you talk about your kids. You talk about. I mean, we were, I was last time I was down there. We go out to dinner, and everyone's just sharing what's going on with your kids, what's going on with my kids, what's going on with this or that. So again, it's like, I mean, we're human beings. It's natural, especially you work with people who you like, and trust. It's not just going to be just business talk all the time. So again, we understand those things, but I think, like I said, it gets to a point where you just have to be mindful of relationships, especially, I said, one-on-one. Now again, there might be situations you can't help, like if you and your boss, and she's a female, and it's like, look, we need to go on this trip or whatever. You may find yourself in some situations, but as best as you can, I always recommend, again, public, open. If we have to work on something, I don't want to come to your room. You don't want to come to mine. Can we find a conference room in the hotel, or some area where we can kind of work these things out? Again, you got to treat that delicately. Again, especially today, because sometimes the intimation sometimes that you think, oh, well, you think something's going to happen, that someone may try to go to HR with that. I mean, just try to frame it as like, oh, he's thinking that we're working together, so therefore we're going to sleep together or something. And so again, you have to handle that situation wisely, in terms of, if your boss invites you, say, hey Pete, come on, yeah, come to my
Office.
room to talk about something or whatever, office or something, or hey, let's go to lunch, and hey, I'll drive, and you just have to be mindful of those situations. And there have been times when I did have to travel one-on-one with somebody. If the times I did, one of the first things I did is I text my wife immediately. So, look, in the situation, I'm going here with somebody, and I gotta, and I give you your name, address, everything. Just keeping short accounts, because I don't want anybody to say, hey, I saw Paul with this person and they were in a car together. I don't want any kind of thing to kind of get back to say that, hey, what's going on, especially if I'm local. Um, because people, they can take something and make anything out of it. So
Yeah,
again,
it's a funny story you said that,
yeah.
Paul, because I've been called into my boss's office a couple times just have a conversation about
Mhm.
uh you know whatever the next catering event or game plan because we're shorthanded or whatever the case is, right? At the hospital, the office was maybe a little bit uncomfortable at times, and I'll explain to you why. Is when her office was across the kitchen in a room,
Mhm.
no windows, no, just doors completely wood. You can't see nothing through. Just me and her. No cameras or
Mhm.
nothing. Right.
Mhm.
And one day, we're talking. I always hit record on my phone.
Mhm.
And one day I dropped my phone. She goes, "Is your phone recording?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why?" I go, "For my protection." She starts laughing like kiddingly. She
Nice.
goes,
Smart.
she joke around. I go, "Honey," I'm like, one, I am way too old for you, and B, I'm happily married with my husband. I can get my husband off me. So if I was that stupid, I would never do anything like that. And
Mhm.
like, but she understood. She thought it was hilarious. But she goes, "You're
Nice.
smart because you're recording everything. I'm not. I'm not."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind that, and this is for people who, if you're curious about it, because I know certain states, I think most states allow for, you can record any conversation. without the person's knowledge. But there's certain states where it has to be consensual. So I would
So
just
the
say I would
laws
say just be
are
mindful of
yeah.
that. Find out what your state's policy is when it comes to recording and things of that nature, because again, it's not always the case. It's a state by state thing, but that is something to
So
keep in mind.
most states, work environment wise,
Mhm,
is if you're in a public setting, an office building is considered as public setting,
mhm,
you're allowed to record.
mhm.
Now, to publish that recorded, you do some most states are not non-commonwealth states, like a free states, like I think Jersey's a free state, if I'm not mistaken, right, Paul?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
But
need
see, but you can, like I said, you can record without consent, whether it be in a private or public setting. You're allowed to record without the person's consent in other states, even in a private setting, not a public one. You need two people to consent to the recording. But people that you can Google and see what states have that one-to-one policy or single policy. But New Jersey, I don't need to. So I could be private or public. I don't need any permission to record a conversation. In fact, I used to have an app on my phone that did exactly that. Anytime a call came in, I just press a button and it just started recording the conversation. So, so just be mindful of see, Black Man just said it here. So you can't do that in Texas. In Texas, if you record someone privately and then try to release that sort of thing, then yeah, that's illegal. The other person must know or give their consent to being recorded in that situation. But in New Jersey, you can. I think most of the eastern states, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, even PA. PA might be a little funny. I'm not sure about PA, but
we're
so
commonwealth.
New Jersey, New
So
York,
I know that
Connecticut, you can
yeah,
do that.
commonwealth states are different versus free states or the independent states, whatever you want to call it. But I do know, I know for a fact, if it's a work environment reason or like public, like a work, I call public work.
Mm,
Yeah, it's all free game. Now, if you're obviously the hospital's a little different because it's HIPAA laws involved,
yeah.
that changed the whole game. Now you're talking about
Mm,
whole apples versus oranges here. Again, you just be cautious when you do something like that. Like, don't like I was just protect myself, and it was a stupid move on my end, to be honest with you guys, because
mhm.
you could have fired me for that very easily.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You got, like I said, even with this, especially because there is, again, you got to be sensitive to harassment and the way they define things. Again, how you go about, even if you turn or reject an offer. Hey, let's grab some dinner and talk over these plans or whatever. How you go about it matters. You can't just say, "Oh, well, I can't because you're a woman and I don't like being alone with a woman or whatever." I don't think that's the wisest thing to say. Try to find another way to do it or whatever, but just use some wisdom there and don't take, because again, the other person that may take it offensively, thinking, oh, you think I'm trying to get in your pants or something. I mean, you just don't know how people
Yeah,
take
do
things.
me a favor,
So
Paul. Highlight the last
yeah.
comment, please, because I'm going to answer this. I'm going to shut this down fast. So, if you're working in any kind of healthcare environment, federal law requires you to go through HIPAA law, no matter what. If you're in the kitchen, a secretary, or security, you are required by HIPAA law. And if you hear any HIPAA law violation, you are required by law to report this. It doesn't matter if it's something so simple. That's why doctors have their own private lounge to talk about
Mm,
patient stuff.
mm. Yeah, yeah. There might be a dispute on the Black Man. He put up a stat about what you can as far as evidence, and then there's some back and forth there. So I'll let those guys
Yeah,
sort it out. But if you give me,
every
yeah,
state is different, and like we see a lot of this.
every state is
It
different.
is, you
But
know what it is.
yeah,
Also, we
yeah,
see a lot of these TikToks and all this stuff. They're going back and forth. Oh, I can record. I'm in a police station. Yeah, that's public evidence. Yeah, whatever or not. Like it's a whole different. That's a whole different game for a different show and different topic.
yeah, yes. He cites the penal code. The penal code here. But again, not to get too far off topic here. I mean, the idea is, again, how do you deal with these situations? And also, again, one thing that I do notice, like sometimes when people on trips, again, the after work situation can get delicate. And then also what's even considered harassment. You think, okay, look, it didn't happen in the office, but if you're on a business trip and let's say you guys go out to dinner afterwards,
Mhm.
and at dinner time, drinks or alcohol a lot of times is involved. And sometimes people get a little looser. with their comments or whatever. And again, a lot of this is actually covered by corporate corporate counsel when I say, you can add a couple drinks to your tab also. So it's not even you're not even paying for a lot of this stuff. But you just have to be mindful of those situations. Hey, let's just go grab a drink after. Does one drink become two and two becomes three? And then something is said or suggested or hinted that it need to be hinted. And then you find yourself in a situation that you didn't necessarily want. So those are just things that you got to be mindful of as well when it comes to the formation of these relationships. But my last employer, I saw a lot of them, because I would work late and people would just be, office talks like, what are you guys talking about? That's so there. You go on the cigarette breaks, you go on the walks. We actually had a track at the place. So people were like at lunchtime, you just want to, walk off your lunch or whatever. And so people would just go out on these tracks. And again, I had offers. People say, hey, you want to go on a walk? And I was like, nah, I got something else. I got something else to do. I just didn't want, I just didn't want the, that type of contact or that level of intimacy. So again, I've been very conservative with how I interact with the opposite sex. And again, like I said, if you were a friend of mine at some point, especially with social media, again, I'll wish you a happy anniversary. I'll wish you a happy birthday or something like that. But I don't think I've ever had a long convo with anybody.
That's something me and you're different.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, we're working together in a working environment, we are not on social media together. Absolutely not. Because I might post something that offend you and you can take that to HR now. That is, people forget social media does consider as an HR violation now, because you might say, fuck this place is blah, 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 whatever. Now you build it in the company. They want us to post things now on social media with the food and stuff like that. It promotes the business. It promotes the company. So you have two choices. You could use the corporate phone. They give you an iPhone, a cheapy one, like iPhone 10 or something like that. Or you can use your personal one. They're fine. They will throw you a little kickback, like, okay, using your phone, we'll give you X, Y, and Z numbers. Or use the company phone, but they're expecting you to post things on. So how it works out, you have the main website, fan page, and encompass whatever, right? Or Flake or Airmark or whatever. Then you have every account has their own fan page on top of that. Issue, Lehigh Valley, and so on and so on. They're expecting you to post stuff all the time.
Right.
So you gotta be very careful of that. Like my boss was like, he was sending requests all the time, like, hey, add me to your friend. I'm like, oh, dude, I don't do that. It took us 3 months. I'm like, okay, if I add you, will you leave me alone? Like, yes. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
And that's it. And like, but even when he announced he's having another kid, I found out through social media. He goes, the big joke in the kitchen is like he's having 22 kids because he's married to a Latino, but that's an ongoing joke going on. But again, if he didn't have that, again, he's taking a risk having all these people under his social media, because you can post something very easily to piss somebody off. And like, on HR, social media is a very viable offense now these days. You
have, and again, how a lot of these just get, I know we're getting into a lot of different topics, but again, focusing back on the idea of infidelities, right? Whether it be physical infidelities or emotional ones, and clearly social media is an area where it's very easy to get caught up in that. I mean, I get requests every week for a woman to want to friend me or befriend me for whatever reason. And a lot of times you don't know if they're legit. But again, I don't take most of the females that are in my friendship group are either family or family friends, meaning I know their husbands or something to that effect, or maybe they might be at the church or something. But again, it's very like I reject more women than than I accept. And like I said, so if you're not in that category of family or close family friends or something like that, or because and what also happens is like I may be friends with the husband, but then the husband and wife, they're close, and so she'll be like, okay, send me a friend request also. And I turn those down. So I'm friends with your husband, but I don't need to be friends with you. If I shared something on social media and your husband saw it, then let him share that with you. He can share that with you directly. Hey, look what's going on with Paul. Yeah, they're doing something. They want to trip or something. Hey, that's cool. I don't need to tell you that though. Why do I need to be connected with you if you're close, you and your husband are tight or whatever? You're gonna find out anyway. But it's just amazing how many wives have sent me friend requests and I just reject them because it's like I don't need that I don't need that kind of a connection, even though it may help me with my followers or whatever. But I've never joined any social media site because I wanted a maximum amount of followers and whatnot. I could probably have doubled my followers if I included all the women who wanted to follow me. But I just chose just different, just not to follow them because like I said, it wouldn't have served me. And I got to make those decisions. Is accepting this friendship invitation, is this going to be to my benefit or not? And I just kind of leave that stuff alone. So again, I tend to be mindful there. But again, so for those who came into the chat, I know Coach is in the chat tonight. Good to see you, sir. And again, just for the guys in general. So again, I cited some stats earlier. And I know we've gotten some comments, certain people. It's like it doesn't matter if it's emotional or physical. It's all wrong. It's all bad or whatnot. But what say you? For the men in the chat, what would hurt more, an emotional affair or a physical? Even if it was a one-off, what would be most damaging to you personally in that particular situation? For me, I couldn't handle the physical, even if it was a one-off. And like I said, I just think the way my mind works, I've never been like a dog like that who can separate sex from my emotions. I'm kind of all in. That's why even in when I was young before I got married, it wasn't like I could just be with someone one night and be with someone else another night. My emotions are tied to my sexuality. And so if something's wrong there, then that's my sexuality is going to be affected. I don't have that ability to compartmentalize the way other men do. And so for me, that would be something very difficult to overcome than an emotional one, because I think with the emotional one, I can almost rationalize to say, well, maybe it was something that I wasn't doing. Maybe there was an emotional need that I wasn't meeting. And as we said earlier, a lot of these emotional relationships come out of this idea, if I'm not, and we know that women are generally, their emotions are certainly more important to them than men. I mean, men and women are different. And certainly if I'm not meeting that emotional standard that she requires of me, if I'm because I'm more, I can be kind of mechanical sometimes. I can be more methodical, whatnot. And I may not necessarily be cued in all the time, especially if I'm busy with work or something else. So again, something can be missed, or at least in the past before I decided to go to this sort of 1 year or year by year mindset. So I realize that can happen. So if you develop an emotional attachment because I wasn't there, in my mind, I can say, you know what, I can fix that. We can go to counseling, we can go to therapy, we can go, or I could just make a commitment okay, we need to spend more time together and I need to be more attentive. I need to listen more. But the physical part, like to allow another man's fluids, I'll be as sensitive as I can in that matter, fluids to interact with yours, DNA to interact with yours, I can't. That's tough. And it's weird because literally, and I've shared the story on BMU a couple times. My wife's brother had leukemia at one time, and he needed a bone marrow transplant. And so, the logical place they look for donors is close relatives. And my wife was automatically disqualified because when we had children, my DNA is actually in her bone marrow. When you have a child, when a woman has a child, somehow the woman's bone marrow, my DNA is in her bone marrow. And so they looked at it as being too contaminated, if you will. She was less of a mass. So her sister, who wasn't married and didn't have children, she was able to give the bone marrow in that particular situation. And for what I understand, that's a very painful procedure, by the way. But the bottom line is, like, I'm literally like my wife's. My wife's DNA has mine in it. It's in her bone marrow. So we're literally joined at the hip. Um, so for me, like I said, that sexual intimacy, if that is broken, that would be very hard to come from. And me, I'm so um strict about. I don't like infidelity songs. So here's a fun thing I'll put in the chat. I'll ask in the chat. What are your top infidelity songs? Let's just say that. So you got if loving you, I forget the name of the artist. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Or Whitney Houston, saving all my love for you. Like, there's been a lot of songs that I don't even like listening to those songs. It's like anytime it comes on, my wife, she'll start singing Whitney Houston. I'll be like, oh, turn from that. I don't even want to hear that. I am so, when it comes to sexual infidelity, that is just like a very sensitive thing with me, where again, I couldn't even see myself. Like I said, even if a woman tried to approach me and she just threw herself, like, literally, like, butt naked, threw herself at me, like, I don't even know if I could perform. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't. Like I said, you can load me up. I can take 10 tablets, and I don't think nothing's gonna happen, because my mindset is such that I just can't allow that to happen. It's just not what I am. It's not what I want. I don't even like hugging. Like, a lot of women are kind of offended, because a lot of times when I go meet a woman, like, I'll shake her hand. I was like, hi, my name is, so and so. And especially some of these older, especially the older church ladies, like, boy, you better give me a hug. I'm not a hugger like that. I just, I just really try to keep my distance and keep respect like that. But yeah, like, if I met your mom, my first reaction wanted to be to give her a hug. I mean, give her a
My
handshake.
mom is more like the old school kiss on the cheek kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I
I
would
know
like,
a lot of women,
yeah.
like older women, like married and everything. Like, if their first thing is like, come here, give me a hug. If you don't, you get slapped over the head. Like,
Yeah.
thing
So a lot of them are like that. But a lot of times I just meet a woman informally. Yeah, I just a handshake. I don't need to come in. I don't need to I don't need to do the embrace thing. I don't need to be the, I just don't do that sort of thing. So yeah, so like I said, that's just not who I am. So like I said, the physical. Now, um King, now he says emotional for him. If it's an emotional affair, that is something that is harder for him to come back from than a physical one. Again, and I'm sure there's men that meet that category. I think the statistics that I was looking at is that more men have more difficulty coming back from a physical affair more so than an emotional one. But what say you guys? What's going to be harder for you? So King put his input in for the other guys. If your wife cheated on you emotionally or physically, what would be most difficult to come back from? So shout out to Braxton. Say yeah. So he's got TLC creep. I remember that when Joe, all the things Isley Brothers featuring R. Kelly busted. Nice ones. Appreciate the input. Yes, and in some Simple Kiss on the Cheek Nation family. Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of Latino cultures and all that stuff like that. But one thing I want to mention, like you mentioned about your friend's wife's frame book. Jenny's a great example, and King's woman.
Michelle, yeah,
no,
So it's
Jenny.
not like
Jenny, it took me years before I accepted her request. We were actually talking one day at her house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have you on Facebook. And she goes like, yeah, no. And she was going to tag me in a picture like, oh, you want me to add you? I go, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like that. Like I said, I just don't feel I guess the need, because again, especially if King and Michelle are close.
I'm cautious too. Like I know I'm friends with his brother-in-law, CQ. His wife, I see her all the time. She comes up, gives me a hug, whatever. We talk. Comes in my accession box with them. Never requested it once because that is a barrier. I don't want to feel uncomfortable with anybody.
That's right.
Joe, like same thing. It took me 3 or 4 years before I say, we became Facebook official friends. I call it.
Yeah.
So look at that, King. But all joking aside, like I talked to Michelle maybe once or twice, and both times she was asking me advice on beer products for King. Jenny was like bullshitting about like, hey, I'm coming up this week. By the way, do you want me to bring anything? Because I know CQ, he's gonna say no to everything I offer. Jenny's more like, yeah, bring this, or don't worry about it, we got you, whatever, stuff like that. So I tell her I said hi too. But that's my point. I don't request my friends' wives, and like it has to be a long period of time. I know you for years and years.
Yeah.
Like if I'm like even your wife comes up in my Facebook multiple times, and I haven't requested it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just not.
If
because
we're
like I
talking
said,
20 years from now, okay, I think we're past that point of no return. Or I know your wife pretty good at that point, I think, or somewhat. Where like I can at least feel comfortable being Facebook friends, like you call it, or whatever the social media you're using at the time in 20 years from now.
Yeah,
but it depends the comfort level with my friend. Like if I'm like cool with the person very well, like I know, okay, it won't be offended on that side or this side. It's be mutual. Cool.
Yeah.
Problem.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There was a question I was going to ask that it just slipped my mind. But yeah, I guess I want in the remaining time we have in the show. Because again, I know guys, or women for that matter, they're so absolute, like any form of this or that. Like nobody wants to necessarily go look at the cost. And again, I don't, like I said, I don't condone cheating of any kind, whether again emotional or physical, but at least I try to understand what's going on with that, and could you have done something differently, or do something better? What if the sex was bad? Let's just keep it a bug. If you weren't able to please Mrs. Laritzis, and
you know who you're talking
to, as impossible as that is, again, this is a possibility. You just couldn't do it for Mrs. Laritzis. What does she do in that situation? What do you guys do in that situation?
Talk to me. Let's have the conversation.
Okay.
What's going on?
So everybody, I guess my thing with that is, and I know in the early article they talk about communication so important, like breakdown of communication. I think communication is important, but to me, actions are even more important. Because I've seen people where you can comfortably communicate what the issues are. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Now, obviously, if there's no communication, you can't do anything about it. But unfortunately, I've also seen a lot of situations where couples can clearly state where the issues are, but nobody's willing to bend or to say, okay, let's do this differently. Or you may do it in the moment because the person's almost halfway out the door. And then you decide, okay, I'll do it differently, but can you sustain it over time? So again, I think communication in some ways is overrated. I'm not saying it's important, but again, what are you going to do with the information that's been communicated to you? And I think a lot of people ignore that information. And again, over time, it may not happen in a minute, it may not happen in a year, but again, a lot of people drift and they simply just open up themselves to situations happening. It's like grass needs to be cultivated. If you don't treat your grass, weeds grow automatically. You don't have to do nothing for weeds to grow on your grass, but you have to put the lime in. You got to mow it, and you got to treat it, and put the kill the dandelions on. You got to do all those things to maintain a nice manicured lawn. But a lot of people, do you put that maintenance in on a regular basis to ensure things don't happen? So, ladies, if you're willingly or knowingly You know your husband has a sexual need and you're not fulfilling it, whether it be frequency or type or whatever it is. Are you opening yourself up to that? Or is like, it doesn't matter. I could be the worst wife in the world. I could be the worst husband in the world. They have no right to cheat on me, or that's wrong or whatnot. And again, I agree. I don't condone cheating. But a lot of times things are opened up because people aren't paying attention. They're not intentional about, hey, are we good? Like Usher, he had this song, "We're not good, but we're still good." Are you good with your spouse? And if not, what are you going to do to ensure that you guys stay good? And are you able to take the feedback or the critique or criticism and turn around? Are you going to get into your feelings and be like, oh, she don't know what he talking about, or she don't know what she talking about? You just gonna blow it off. So again, I don't condone cheating, but again, I understand the things that lead to it emotionally or otherwise. And it can be a problem. So you can either curse the problem or curse out the individual who did whatever they did, which I don't condone. But can you at least acknowledge that you could have done something better? Just as that person who did the cheating needs to confess, yeah, that was not the way to go, but they just found themselves in a situation. Again, a lot of what I just said will go right over someone's head, and they don't want to hear it. And I get it, because it does. I can imagine that it hurts when someone does that to you. But are you willing to do that work to understand what did you do? If you were working, I know Peter, you said you had a karate school and you were doing you were busting. You were trying to and a lot of times, especially today, you hear this talk of the manosphere where we're supposed to be providers and protectors. So I'm out there providing and protecting.
Even my last relationship, that was one of the issues. I worked too many hours. You worked too many
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah. And
But
is that
hang on,
I hate the use the word legit, but is that a cause?
So what I was going to say was she was complaining I was working too much, but she wanted her brand new car. She wanted her, her newest iPhone, the newest she wanted all these. She had a thing collecting makeup palettes. They're 50, $60 a pop every few months when new ones get released. I'm like, she had like 80 of those at one point. Literally, like, what are you doing with these? They're not. I don't see the value in them. They're like, I looked it up, and there's no value to them. Like, it's 20 years later, you can sell them, you make a couple of grand off them. They don't raise in value versus like video games, for example. You have a Nintendo, you get a couple $100 now out of it if you have the box with it. Or I don't know, like a mint cigar from 1861, for example. You know what I'm saying? But it just they want all this stuff. Both of them, both exes wanted all this stuff, but they're complaining. I work too much. You can't have it both ways. I'm sorry, you cannot. If you want all this stuff, you want the nice TVs, you want the couch, you want the house, you want the car, you want the nails done, you want everything. Okay, that's fine. But somebody needs to provide the income to make that lifestyle happen.
Right. But then again, you got a situation where just certain people just can't be pleased. Right.
No
like
shit.
Like the type of person that person should not be in a relationship, because again, no amount that you do for them is going to matter. You're giving them the material things, but they want them. They want the time. It's like again, you have to make some compromises.
Here's the thing with my last ex, Lizzie. Lizzie was, what's the best word? Gold digger. Simple. I'll put it this way. So
Yeah.
I like after the relationship ended, about a year or two later, I had time to think about the whole situation. So she left her first ex-husband because there were money problems. Okay, whatever. You were young and stupid. Shit happens when you're young. So she was with the second ex-husband for years, and she told me the first thing she told me about him, he had money when I first met him. He had money when I first met him. And when mine dried up years later, that's where the problem started with you and him. Then you came to me, and the first time in your life you heard no. Seriously, the answer was no. She got a lot
So
of
she was
numbers.
married 2 times before you got with her.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you
And
didn't
that's
think
pretty
at
much
the time that was that
I didn't
a
think about it. The first one I thought it was okay. You were young. It only lasted it was 6 months. She told me she left him after that.
Mhm.
So you were young, stupid, or whatever. The second time, you were together for a while. You know, you know, didn't think anything of it.
Mhm.
Now I look back, yeah, I should think about it. But now I actually also told me a lesson. Any woman I've been with, and you met my a couple of my ex girlfriends in the past already.
Mhm.
And for first a year or two, they're on a tight leash because I need to know
What do you
not
mean?
everything.
What do you mean tightly?
Tight leash, like I don't care if she goes to a concert, for example, but let me inform me you're going to the concert. Don't let me
Mhm.
find out through the grapevine or through Facebook or through something like that. Oh, you're on a concert. Like, yeah, I kind of need to know where, let me know that. You know what I'm saying? Or you're going
Mhm.
out with your girlfriends. Like, can me inform what's going on? That's what I mean by a tight leash.
Mhm.
Like, and over time, when my trust builds with you, that leash will, loosen up over time to the point I don't even need the leash because
Mhm.
what I've been through over time.
Mhm.
Because you see, I let you have your freedom, and then you start banging somebody in my own bedroom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
same,
But she was never right for any relationship like that. That's
fun.
something that should not have happened.
The first, second,
And again, she was always going to be. You were always going to be the cause of whatever would happen, or she was never going to take accountability for anything. So I'm and like I said, and I know there's people like that. But I'm
let me
saying,
ask you a
but
question.
can
Which one are
yeah,
you talking about? My first ex or second ex?
whichever the one that attack you after finding
Both
out.
of them attacked me. So
Yeah, yeah. But I'm saying, but the one who was in you caught in the act, and then she attacked you. I mean that's
the first one.
yeah. Yeah, and then she tried to blame you that you were the cause of the break. Again, everybody has to own their stuff. You
Mhm.
know, they say in a relationship, relationship ends. There's his side, her side, and then there's the truth. And a lot of times we don't want to. A lot of times we don't want to deal with that in terms of what we did. And I'm not even saying in the relationship, but again, even in the selection, that were we thinking with a clear head in terms of one, we talked about one of the ex, and I'm talking like you want a family.
Mhm.
And what did I tell you coming back from Comic-Con that one year? You can't be dealing with 40 plus if you want a family. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just
No,
not.
I'm not arguing.
Yes,
I'm not pushing back.
technically, yes. Can a woman have kids? Yeah, but I mean, at your point, you want kids? Yeah, she needs to be on the other side of 30, on the negative side of the lesser side of 30. If you want, and you want again multiple kids, but starting with a 4-year-old, and wanting to have a family, then even though the person has grown kids already, that's a tough situation. So it starts a lot of times. It starts with selection, and then it starts with, again, what are you guys doing in the relationship to ensure things are going? Now, Anton made a comment here. If couples are having issues inside the bedroom, talk about it outside of the bedroom. Now, again, even if you do that, because again, people go to counseling, and counseling doesn't work either. Because you get me in counseling, and the rubber can meet the road to say this: he wants me to do that, and I ain't doing it. Well, I'm not doing it anymore because I always hated it, but he wanted it anyway. And I'm like, I'm done. Then what? So again, I agree that the communication is important, but it's your actions. What is the follow through? What is going to be the resolution? Can we come to a mutual agreement? Can we come to a compromise that works? In order to compromise, both parties have to be invested. And you see a lot of times, even in couples counseling sessions, one person might be all in, the other one is not willing to follow through with the steps. Or again, it may work for a minute, but is it going to last? And in the stats that I quoted earlier, especially when there's infidelity involved, less than 15 to 20% of these relationships are going to last past the 5-year period, meaning that you're going to get to a state of reconciliation that is lasting. Because again, a lot of times people can't come back. People can't come back for some things. Another comment: Braxton, a snake fiend at Sparta. The thing is, feminist or feminist adjacent. I will use the name broad, but wants the package but minus one thing that they want: a home, car, money, job, career, trips, kids, but not the man. Yeah, they want a lot of things, but you're just the means to an end, but you're not the end a lot of times in their world. And then here the other side of it is that when they're wanting all that, including a man, but they want him to be a secondary subordinate position, not being in a leading position. Facts. I mean, certainly that's something too. And again, a lot of times when a man wants to be in that position, a lot of women, especially a lot of women that he's talking about, they call him controlling. It's like controlling is like you're canceled if you're looked at as controlling. And but you got to decide, like, and I'll tell my oldest daughter, she kind of had a thing with this for a minute, because but I said, you look at the longest marriages that you know of, you look at ours, you look at your friend, the one who got married last year, you look at her situation, and that, the men are present, the men are leaders, the men are in charge, and we work with wives that work with us. Now, if you want to call that kind of man controlling, you can go ahead, but compared to there was this one guy she was messing with, and I was just saying, like, afterwards, like, no, that's not the guy. But I like him and we get along and he doesn't try to control me. But again, the guy has no control of himself. Is that the guy you want to produce with or build a life with? So yes, women, I hate to break it to you. A man that is disciplined, that is principled, is going to want to exercise a form of control, and he wants a woman that's going to rock with him. But if you want to have agency to do what you want when you want to do it, that may not be the type of guy for you. But again, don't complain though when you can't find a guy.
See, that's the issue with the women today, Paul. Like, yes, I might say I put them on a tight leash, but even later on, I know people like marriage, like CQ, for example, great example. Like, if his wife is going, going to do something, like, hey, by the way, babe, I'm going to go to the store really fast. Whatever, just keep me informed what's going on in your life. Like, in my case, like, if she tells me, oh, I'm going to the bar tonight with my girlfriend, like, excuse me, you're doing what? No. It's simple. The answer isn't going to be fucking hard no, because I know alcohol is involved and other guys don't give a shit. You have a ring on your finger or you don't have a ring on your finger. They're fishing. End of story. And you know that very well too, Paul. I know you don't go to bars, but you know very well with alcohol involved things.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
like I said, and I've seen, like I said, a lot. That's why a lot of these business trips, like I said, there's always, if you don't have the happy hour, or like, and it's I think it's actually worse on the trips where you fly somewhere, because again, you're kind of away from everybody and nobody can kind of see what you're doing on a regular basis. So if stuff's going to go down, you would think it's almost easier to do when you got to fly into these, fly halfway around the world. Who's going to see you then?
Yeah. Or another good example is when they say, oh, I'm going on a girls trip. Like, no, you're not. It's very simple. Now, if you tell me you're going to see your mom overseas, yeah, of course. I'm not gonna say I'm not that much a dick. I know I'm a raw asshole, but I'm not that much an asshole. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have my rules in my relationship, like you do in your marriage. When you guys were dating for 10 months, right? Am I right? Right? 10 months you guys were married before
well,
from start
the marriage was 10 months later. So from first date to the wedding was 10 months.
Even in 10 months, you probably had your rules in your head. Like, listen, if she started going hanging out at bars and all this stuff, that's might be a red flag for me. So, and like I have my rules, like one of my rules, like I think is weird as hell when a woman comes up to me, oh, that's my best friend. He's a male. You have a male best friend? That I know how males are. So yeah. And my favorite one, I can't say his name out loud because I don't want to put his business out there. My buddy of mine, he says, oh, my girlfriend has, this guy's her best friend, but he's gay. I'm like, no, he's not. He's straight. He's just saying that. 6 months after they broke up, they were hooking up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was really gay. Okay, yeah. So that's when I see some things, like, to me, they're red flags. No, absolutely not. Yeah. And you don't like the ground rules I'm going to put down. The door's right there. I'll find somebody else later on.
Yeah. Braxton, I want to hear from you. Thanks for the comments in the chat or whatnot. But what say you? What's what would be more difficult to come back from? An emotional affair or a physical affair? I don't know if you answered that in the chat. I'd have to go back and look at it, but I just wanted to. If you said it, then you can shout it out shout it out again. But yeah, and for the men in the chat or ladies, I know what Anissa was here earlier. If you're still on, or any ladies in the chat, what would be harder for you? Is it more? Is it easier to come back from a physical affair versus an emotional one? And like I said, for me, I know definitely what what will work for me. Like I said, physical, it would be extremely difficult to come back from
So you
a
think,
true. Yeah.
if your wife was talking to another guy, just texting back and forth, was verbal flirting, would you give her, a second chance? Never
I would be
physical.
more open to it, because then I think we can have a conversation, because that physical barrier hasn't bleached. Like I said, you guys haven't swapped DNA. As long as you guys haven't swapped DNA, we can have we can talk. You know what I mean?
You're stuck on that. You're so stuck on that.
I mean, fluids, man. I mean, like bodily fluids of all types, and yeah, I'm kind of squeamish. The only fluid she's ever had was mine. Take it how you want. And and certainly since I've been married, those are the only fluids that I want. So I mean, again, I'm wired to her. Is probably the best way to say it. Like, but again, the idea, the thought of being with a woman, I don't think I could do it. I could be somewhere, someone knocks on my door, gorgeous, like my dream 10 girl, butt naked. I'm thousands of miles away from home, and she just says, "You and me right now, nobody has to know." And probably no one would ever know. I couldn't do it. I'm telling you right now, it just like I would look down, and this guy's not doing nothing. In fact, he would go in. He would go in. He wouldn't come out. He would probably go in. That's kind of where it is. Like I said, I've just never been that guy. I've always been a one woman guy. And that's why I never understood, like, when you talk about the manosphere, and a lot of these guys talking about, I remember the question I was going to ask you. And as honest as you can be about it. First of all, before you do, certainly Braxton saying, Miss Bennett, you would say emotional, because they already had their minds thinking about it. They're just waiting for the right time. I appreciate your comment. Again, you hear a lot in the manosphere space, and even culturally. Now, this is what Anton, I may want your feedback as well. Now, there's certain cultures where it's almost expected for men to have a side piece.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard for years about certain European men, French men, Jamaican men, certain ethnic groups where you have your wife, and you have your your au pair, or your mistress. That's just part of the deal, and the two never meet. And then you used to hear these manosphere, when Kevin Samuel was on, he was talking about, you had three women. You had your wife at home, who was the mother of your kids. You had your office wife, and then you had your plaything on the side. And he's saying, and people make a case, well, this is how it's been for thousands of years. Most men haven't been monogamous, and this is, especially for men of high means, it does seem to be the case that for a lot of, if you are successful, like you're a millionaire, you're an entertainer, you're whatever, it's almost expected that you're going to have more than one more than one person. So I want to ask you, for even with Greek culture, both Greek American and Greek from Greece, is this a thing where men, not that it's encouraged or whatever, but is it somewhat common, like what they say with French men or Caribbean men or whatever, where it's kind of like this is what the men do? I mean, they're real good at having their families, but if you find out that the man has some little side piece, that's normative in Greek culture? I don't know. So again, please don't take the question offensively. But I'm just curious. Is that a thing with Greek men in particular? Oh, Sparty, you still there? You froze on me. I think you froze on me. Come on, come on back. Let me entertain Braxton's question while Sparks come back. So it was Bennett, like one of Biden's sons died. His brother got with the widow. Ate after he died again, and yeah, I think that was a little yeah, that was a little nasty. At the time, you can't imagine something like that happening. But the same thing but again, with how many famous people, athletes, entertains Muhammad Ali. I mean, who's certainly one of my sports heroes. But again, he was an unfaithful guy to his wives, and things like leaders, even Nation of Islam. I mean, pick your leader. Martin Luther King. We've all known of these famous people, these famous men who unfortunately have been known to have affairs, whether it be emotional or physical or both. And some people tried to make the case that this is normative, or that it's not normative for a man to be monogamous to one woman. And so that was a major push. And if you're if you're a high value man making six figures plus or whatnot, this just kind of comes with the territory. Is that true? Or can a man be faithful to a woman physically and emotionally otherwise? So I think that's a question that people have been grappling with, and certainly the manosphere certainly entertained that question. But yeah, but for a lot of famous people, especially actors, entertainers, politicians, corporate leaders, executives. I talked about the couple that got caught on in an arena earlier. These things do happen. So I don't know what to make of that. But again, in some of these situations, it's known. In some of these situations, it's accepted. Okay. So if you can come on in the next few minutes, we can certainly wind down the show. But is this a thing that should we accept it? And gods will go back saying, no, this happens since biblical days. Solomon had 700 wives, and David had a dozen, multiple wives and things like that. Is biblical. Is a lot of times what they'll say about it. I don't know. Should we be accepting that? And some guys I've even heard even defended even on biblical terms. Is that true? Should we be going that direction, or should we go again, one man, one woman? If anybody who does otherwise commits adultery. So again, that's I guess a religious discussion, but in terms of again, what is worse? So we saw, I think, a good sample of guys. A couple guys said emotional cheating and affairs is something that is something that is difficult for them to overcome. And some guys said, the physical would be the one. I'm definitely on the physical side of things. And again, I'm not sure if Sparta, if he can. Okay,
all
cool.
Right.
You're back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. All
right. Sorry about that. My computer's acted weird. Just shut me down completely.
I got you.
All right. So the question was?
So the question as far as Greek men or Greek culture, is it?
Okay. That's what I thought you were going. Okay. Yeah. So I gotta break down a little bit. Okay. So is it common or expected for a Greek man to have a putana, or in other words, a side piece?
What's it called? Right. What's it called?
A whore.
But what the word that you use? What's it called?
Putana. It means whore in
Putana. Okay. Yeah. I never heard that. So
yeah, it's similar to puta in Spanish.
Right? Okay.
So no, it's not expected. Is it common? Yes. Less common now these days than anything, because men are not traveling to make money as much. They're not working crazy hours like they used to. It's a whole different lifestyle now. Now, Greek American, good luck. You think of that shit, you would get dick chopped off. Simple as that.
Yeah.
That's not common anymore. It's so rare it's not even funny.
Mm.
Like I know multiple friends, like a couple of my friends, their father had a side piece for years. One of my uncles had a side piece. My father had a side piece,
Mm.
and all this stuff. It's not common. It's more it's more like back in the day, like similar like in the black community. That it was common for a lot of you guys to,
Well, yeah, we talked about the idea you show up at your father's funeral
yeah,
and then you meet your step brothers and sisters that you didn't
like,
know
hey,
you had.
you my brother? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you kind of meet these new relatives that you get at the funeral. So that's always been a thing as well. But I know there's certain men like I've known like a lot of Jamaican women who will say like they'll never date or marry a Jamaican man because again they just have a tendency not to be faithful, and a lot of them don't want to settle for that. And then the question would be for because we have seen with prominent people, actors, entertainers, sports figures,
Mhm.
corporate giants and moguls and things that they tend to have um, uh, side pieces, multiple, or they live a lifestyle where again they keep the woman or the house with the kids and everything, but it's almost expected because these guys they might be on the road 6 months out the year, and you're there to kind of guard the home front and keep and maintain my legacy, and you get all the resources and money to do that. But when I'm away doing my thing, do understand that I'm going to be, I may have a companion. My thing is, I'm not going to try to put him in face, which is weird because I know Muhammad Ali. What really kind of soured me on him a little bit again as a boxer, as what he meant, civil rights and all those kind of things. Again, a very prominent figure. But I remember that his third fight with Joe Frazier, the Thrilla in Manila. He was in Manila and he was parading around with his mistress. I think her name is Veronica, and this is actually the mother of Layla Ali. And he was going around as if his wife, or his wife Belinda, who was in the United States, saw him do that on TV. She actually flew to Manila and confronted him before the fight over that because some people have rules. They'll be like, look, okay, you're going to have your side pieces, fine, just don't put it in my face, keep that stuff under wraps, and also no babies. I don't want to hear about any illegitimate children. And apparently Ali couldn't do that. So again, it made me had to kind of compartmentalize that. Yes, I can say he was a great fighter. He might have been the greatest heavyweight of all time, and what he brought to boxing and what he meant to black culture is one thing. But again, he was a lousy husband. And so how do I rationalize those two truths? And sometimes that's difficult to how do you reconcile those? Now Anton says that in Haitian culture having a side piece is not a good thing. I'm glad to hear that. I said Jamaican culture, I don't hear that a lot, or at least a lot of people don't say it. It seems to be a reality there. And again, the queen is in the house, Lady Navoa. It's all cheating. Just saying, hey, I agree with you. I mean, we're not saying one is worse than the other. The main question tonight was if it's emotional or physical cheating, what would you personally consider worse, or what would be the one that you could not recover from? Now, you might say, I can't recover from either one of them. I'm saying I can't recover from a physical infidelity. That biomechanically, physically, my body could not recover from that. I'm saying that openly. No matter how many blue chews you gave me, I don't think I could recover from that. But someone else, and you had a couple guys in the chat tonight, they said that an emotional affair would be harder to come back from. So again, everyone's different in that regard, and you have to kind of work out on your own mind. Is this relationship worth saving? I can't answer that for people. But however, but the main thing I want people to take away from it, again, a lot of people don't want to hear it when it comes to looking at how do we get here, or even more importantly, where do we go from here? Are people willing to do the personal accountability to say what was my role? And not that I don't defend infidelity. But what was my role in the situation? If I wasn't present, if I wasn't doing what I needed to do, and even if you do everything you're supposed to do, a person, if they got cheating on the minds, cheaters are going to cheat. So there's only so much agency that you have over that anyway. But can you look at what you might have did that may have uh, opened up that situation to occur? Like I said, grass needs continual maintenance weekly. And if I let my grass go a couple weeks without mowing it, I got problems. And are people putting in the lawn care to make sure that you weed proof your marriage or your relationship? And not everyone is doing that, or you don't understand that that stuff needs to be done until something happens. And I'm all about preventative maintenance. So, so that was the question for the night. But again, I appreciate you coming in. I'll read your last comment as we wind down the show. I mean, it'll hurt both ways. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, emotional, physical. How deep is emotionally? It's emotional. How many times and when they were physically, etc. You're gonna have those questions. Yes, it's a complicated thing. And then the last that I'll read, Hint of Salt says relationships are overrated. Maybe, but whatever you want to call your relationship, if you just want to be someone who just with randoms or just companions, just for that. And some people in the manosphere and whatnot, they're taking a step back. Like, yeah, marriage is overrated, relationships are overrated. It's just about getting yours or whatever and moving on. There's some people who resign
Also, Paul,
themselves to that reality.
also, Paul, you have to understand a lot of women and a lot of men, and I'm seeing more women than men now don't want a relationship. They're not ready to have a relationship, and they're not mentally have a relationship, and that's okay too. I see a lot of women saying, "I want a relationship," but mentally they're not there.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a lot of work that you have to do, personally, to get to that point. But and I can be happy with that, but as long as, again, what's the outcome that you're looking for? Anything that doesn't align with your outcomes is a problem. And so,
Absolutely.
if you want children, if you want legacy, I mean, there's certain things that need to be in place. And so, I don't like, if you're a type of person, if you are committed to the gift of singleness, and you want to serve God with all your heart, be a nun, be a priest, whatever you want to do, and just totally live a single life, and that's not an interest to you. I got no issue with that. But if there's certain things that you want, what are you willing to do to get those things? Especially if you've had some past traumas or whatever, are you willing to do the work to kind of get over those to get over those things? So that's really the thoughts of the show. We're already going kind of overtime here, so I want to definitely land this plane so we can get out of here. Both of us got work in the morning, but any final thoughts, Pete, as we wind down the show? And this, like I said, definitely I really appreciated this show, and I really appreciate those who participate in the chat, whether I agree with your comment or not. Again, your input is always welcome here on the show. Just like as we always say, just try to keep it respectful in the chat, and sure we'll entertain your thoughts. But any final thoughts, Pete, before we land this plane?
Before you hurt somebody, have the conversation, because you might damage them beyond repair. And if you do damage them beyond repair, that's not fair for them. It's better just to end the relationship and have less hurt than actually cheating on them and hurting them.
Yeah, I agree. It's better that if you can't resolve it. Thank you very much. That means a lot to us coming from you. Certainly, yeah. If you can't resolve it, yeah, definitely end it. But again, when you go out there and put yourself in these situations emotionally or physically, uh, seldom does it end well. And again, you got to ask yourself the question: is it, would it be worth it? Let's say if you do leave to go and be with this other person, again, for the person who you're doing that with. Like I said, cheaters cheat. So who's to say that that person won't do that to you? If you're the one that the person's cheating with, who's to say that that person then won't cheat on you? So again, what are you looking at? What are you looking for in your relationship. You think this person who's already committed to someone else is going to leave everything to be with you. And if they are willing to leave everything to be with you, what makes you think that they won't be willing to do that, to do that again? So again, those are some things to think about. But again, we want to, we definitely want to thank you guys for being part of this conversation. We had a very active viewership tonight, and that's always helpful in this space. Really appreciate your support. Just make sure when you leave the show, make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Also, consider becoming a member, subscriber to the Black Man Unfiltered Network, as well as the Sparta HQ Network. Hop over there, drop us a like. It won't cost you anything, but we appreciate certainly the support that we're growing a channel over there with various shows of content there. So again, Sparta HQ Network. Hop over there and drop a like and consider subscribing to that network as well. But yeah, I think this is a good show. Look forward to more shows on relationships that we're going to be talking about in the near future. Yeah, I won't give anything away, but there's all types of relationship dynamics that we're going to be dealing with, in addition to other topics outside of relationships. We're not just going to be talking about this every week, but just stay tuned for more content from the show. But certainly for myself, Mr. Bennett, and he is
This is Sparta!
the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Panayotis. This is the gray area. Certainly, we appreciate your participation tonight. Enjoy your week. Be safe out there. So for us, take care. God bless, and we will see you next time. Good night.